Hi everyone, I'm Rob.
And I'm Mark.
And we're back again for another conversation about a video game. And this time we're talking about This time we're talking about High School Magical Girl Simulator. Now, Don't bother Googling that. Don't bother Googling that because you won't find it, because it has a different name. It's actually called Blue Reflection.
I think if you Googled it, you would find all kinds of stuff. So
you'll probably find
not want to find.
You'll probably find Sailor Moon first and Pretty Cure and stuff like that. Anyway, Blue Reflection. It's developed by Gust and it's published by Koei Tecmo, and it's out on the PS4, the PS Vita, and the PC. Now, it came out earlier this year in Japan in March, and it is a role-playing game. It is a proper JRPG. But it's done more in the style of an Atelier game or a Hyperdimension Neptunia game, more of an Atelier game than a Hyperdimension Neptunia game, I should say. The exploration is very Hyperdimension Neptunia, Atelier, that sort of thing. More Atelier than Hyperdimension Neptunia, but I know that people who play Hyperdimension Neptunia don't necessarily play Atelier games and vice versa. So I'm using those both as a basis of comparison.
Yeah, I played the first Hyperdimension Neptunia game, and I think I've owned 2 or 3 of the Atelier games, but I've never actually delved into them at all. I think it's one of those times I was like, oh, this looks like an anime JRPG type thing, and then I never touched it ever again.
Then you have missed out, good sir, because the Atelier games are wonderfully charming games, and they don't require a lot of thought, and they're the perfect game for when you just want to sit back and relax and just make stuff.
Oh, well, I'll get to it eventually, just like everything else. Too many games, not enough time.
Yeah, they've got some light JRPG, some light RPG elements to them. But anyway, Blue Reflection starts off in a school, and it's actually set in Hoshinomiya Girls' High School in modern-day Japan. And it's the middle of summer, and you take on the role of a girl called Hinako Shirai, who used to be a ballet dancer, and she injured her leg 1 year prior, and she's been depressed, she can't dance anymore, yada yada yada, and now she's attending Hoshinomiya Girls' High School, and she's first year.
Right.
And you start off being quite nervous, blah blah blah. A lot of this story is told in a very linear fashion. There's not really much in the way of branching storylines or anything like that. It's very, very linear.
Mm-hmm.
And you basically meet loads and loads of female characters. This is very much a girly game, right?
Yeah.
Or at least it seems that way on the surface, because we'll get to the other bit in a bit. So, it's very much, the kya kya and everything like that type game. I'm never going to make that noise again, by the way. If I make that noise again, Mark, make sure you punch me.
See, when you say kya kya, I'm getting quite worried because in anime that can be many things. That can be kya kya, I'm a cute magical girl, or kya kya, you just walked in me and I'm undressed.
Or it could be the Caribbean version where they're talking about a car.
Possibly.
Oh, sorry, Caribbean. I'm supposed to pronounce it as Caribbean because I'm English.
You can pronounce it however way you want.
Yes. Anyway, so as Hinako is at the school, she goes to the school office to basically tell them that she's there. And while she's standing outside the school office, she meets somebody who used to go to the same middle school as her, who's overly excited about meeting the Hinako Shirai. She was a bit of a celebrity at her middle school because she was such a talented dancer. And so this girl is very, very happy to see Hinako. And she gets overly excitable, and then Shirai notices there's a very weird glow coming off this girl. And then next thing she knows, she's been upended into a pool of water in a strange world. She doesn't know what's going on. She hears a voice that's telling her that she needs to fight, and she transforms into a magical girl and fights. And she's thinking, I don't know what's happened. Was that real? Somehow she's managed to calm this other girl down, sort out her emotions, everything like that. And this is all to do with emotions.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Now, the voices that she heard in this other world belong to the sisters Yuzuki and Lime Shijo. I say Lime because in the Japanese version they pronounce it Raimu, but in the English version it's pronounced Lime.
Right.
And they're also magical girls, and they're known as reflectors, which is where the reflection part of Blue Reflection comes out. Comes from. And they basically help her understand what it is to be a reflector, and they have to fight these monsters in this other world, which is based on emotions, and help the girls around the school and other people also rebalance their emotions and maintain the balance. It's all about maintaining the balance, right?
Yeah.
So that's your setup. That's your story. And the story is told in a series of chapters, so it's eminently manageable, right?
Mm-hmm.
But this is where the problems start setting in. Because even though the story is eminently manageable, it's very, very, very linear. And there's not really much to do in between the main story segments. You can explore the school, but you can't really explore the town around the school. You can't really go to many places, and the character interactions are quite limited, right?
Yeah.
But in terms of controls, in terms of exploration, in terms of combat, it's turn-based, and it plays a lot like the Atelier games, especially the more recent Atelier games. And that's actually to its credit, because it's easy to pick up and play. You know, the controls are very, very familiar. They're very simple, very straightforward. The graphics are very good, okay?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the graphics are very, very, very good. It is kind of a CG anime-esque type quality, but this is why I call it a simulator rather than a game, because for a lot of this, it is more like you are playing a simulator about you being a high school magical girl rather than actually playing a game.
Right.
Okay? And part of the reason for that is actually the graphics. The graphics kind of play into the idea of it being more of a simulation than an actual game. If the graphics were more cartoony, or more anime, I should say, you might consider it more of a game. But because they've gone for more of a kind of realistic CG type quality, even though the features are very anime, the rest of the environments and everything like that, they take on a more realistic element.
Right.
See what I mean? So leaving those to one side. Actually, no, not leaving those to one side. There is one major issue that I want to bring up with this, right? Blue Reflection, I said, is a very girly game. Yeah? And you'd think it's aimed at a female audience. But no, you would be wrong. It's actually aimed at a male audience.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking, because this seems to be a lot of things, like stuff like, obviously if we're going to go back into anime territory, stuff like Love Live or Lucky Star or New Game or Girls and Panzer all seem very girls doing girly things and being girly, but really they're targeted for the guys, aren't they?
Well, I say targeted for the guys. I'd say Blue, maybe that's incorrect, okay? Blue Reflection it's got things that the female audience would like, but it's got a lot of things that the male audience tends to like as well, or a predominantly male audience, I should say. And the thing that predominantly male audiences tend to like when it comes to anime-based games and anime, top of the list is unfortunately fan service. And this game does have fan service. There's an option where you can actually have the clothes be wet.
Right.
The clothes are summer uniforms, so they're already almost see-through as it is. And I don't really like that option.
No, I mean, again, this is like getting into fan service territory for me. If it's something like Senna and Kagura, you know what you're getting into on even by looking at the front of the box.
Yeah.
This one, I've seen the cover of it, and I wouldn't be expecting that.
See, this is the thing. Blue Reflection, I mean, the magical girl transformation scenes, they're basically copying all of the traditional magical girl transformation scenes where clothes are removed, clothes are put on, blah, 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 right?
Mm-hmm.
And there is a certain risque element to the magical girl uniforms. I'm not going to dwell on those, though. See, I'm not sure what to think of Blue Reflection. Okay, it plays a lot like a magical girl series in that you go around solving people's problems and you're introduced to a new character every chapter and you solve their problem, move on, yada yada.
Yeah.
So it's very much like playing Sailor Moon or Pretty Cure or something like that, right? Mm-hmm. But it's done in a kind of game form, and there are a lot of cutscenes that you have no control over. You just basically have to watch and listen, and that kind of takes away from the idea of actually playing a game because you don't have any dialogue options, or not many anyway, you see.
Yeah.
And this is... Blue Reflection just strikes me as a bit of an odd duck when you get right down to it, because there's not much to do outside of your mission of being a magical girl and going to school, right? So even though it says even though it gives you an option to study, you can't actually choose what you're studying, and you don't actually see anything that's being studied. It just basically cycles through a period of time where you can study. And there is kind of a day and night cycle in this, right? So time does progress. Your team is limited to just the three girls, Hinako, Yuzuki, and Lime. It's just them three. They're the only three reflectors.
Right, and you get them more or less straight away.
Well, you get Hinako first, then Lime and Yuzuki, you get just a little bit into the game.
Right.
And fighting and exploring the common region, and that's where a lot of your action takes place. It's kind of an alternate dimension type thing. Fighting and exploring that area is fun for a while, but it becomes repetitive after a bit. And this is where the game starts having severe limitations. It's the kind of game that I don't think you can sit down and marathon.
Right.
And it is a very, very... It's not a game that's going to have widespread popularity as well. It's aimed at a very, very niche audience. So
yeah, even just looking at the box, I mean, even Atelier and Neptunia, a niche in an already niche genre, and this one seems to be even more niche.
Yeah, it's even more narrow, and I'll be honest, I'm actually surprised this game got a release in the UK. That's not to say it's fundamentally a bad game. There are some really good ideas in this game, and the execution of the game isn't actually bad, you know?
Mm-hmm.
The game has things that are actually quite commendable. It hasn't gone for the typical anime-style graphics, for example, and tried to make them a bit more lifelike, and that is commendable. The character movements, the animation, that sort of thing, is really quite good. Commendable. The controls are really quite good as well, very simple to get used to, easy to pick up and play. Again, commendable. And it's more of a slice of life type game. It also has a very, very distinctive skill point system, so you don't actually get like new weapons and armor and stuff like that. What you have is a system where you can assign skill points to 4 main statistics, and you get extra skills and stuff like that.
All right. So when you were saying about the fighting, how is the fighting? Obviously, you said JRPG, so I'm assuming turn-based?
It's turn-based, yeah, just like Italia, like I said. But it's easy. Even when you go into hard, the game is pretty easy.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be honest, one of my main gripes with this game is the writing. The subtitles.
Is it a translation, or
the translation can sometimes be a little bit lazy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's basically my main gripe with the game, aside from the fan service, which was totally unnecessary, right?
Yeah. I mean, touching on the translation, because this is a niche title and a niche market, I think they kind of just thought they'll just get a cheap...
Well, I think the translation
try and do it as cheap as possible, you know what I mean?
I think you're right there, because they did pretty much do the translation in-house.
Yeah.
So, I think you might be right on that. Thing is, if this is the first game in a new type of game that Gust and Koei Tecmo are trying to pioneer, I'm all for it. And I think maybe it is. See, this is the thing that strikes me a little bit about Blue Reflection. The environments, the coloration, everything like that. I love the look of the game, right?
Yeah.
I think the game looks really, really good. There are elements I dislike about the game, but I like the look of the game. And I get the feeling that Koei Tecmo and Gust are basically trying to bring magical girls into gaming in a way that hasn't been seen before. And I think their approach...
There hasn't been a huge amount of magical girl games. Yeah. Even when you're looking at stuff like Sailor Moon or Card Captor, I don't really remember a lot of them games being about.
Yeah, but this is the thing. I would love to have for somebody to try and attempt a Nanoha game. Because, hey, Nanoha is still my favourite magical girl.
Well, I'm just thinking of a magical girl game in the same scope of what they kind of did with the Harry Potter series.
Well, technically, Nanoha isn't a magical girl. she's the ace of aces of the interdimensional police force, so she's more the magical woman.
So, would you recommend this to Magical Girl fans?
Yeah, actually, I would. I think that if you're a fan of Magical Girl anime, you'll find a lot in this game that you're familiar with for a start, and that you might actually like. And the chance to actually play an adventure, to actually play that adventure instead of just watching it, that's an opportunity that rarely comes around. So I think that it will appeal to fans of Magical Girl anime.
Yeah. And do you think the fan service is enough to
the fan service
put off female fans of Magical Girls?
Thankfully, the fan service I don't think is enough to put off female fans. It's just, that's what I mean by it's completely unnecessary, because it hasn't gone down the Dead or Alive extreme route where it's just right in your face, or the Senran Kagura route where it's right in your face. It's just there, but it doesn't need to be there. And, when it doesn't need to be there, you have to question why it's there in the first place. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I don't think it's enough to put off female fans, but it is a little bit uncomfortable at times playing this game, because you just think, you don't need that.
It's something that, for something like this, I mean, obviously, Dead or Alive, Senran Kagura, you couldn't do it, but something like this, I kind of wish they would put an option in, even if they just said there are scenes or whatever that may not appeal to everybody.
Yeah.
Would you like to turn these off?
Yeah. See, I'd like that option as well.
And I think that would appeal to a lot more, because you might want to see it, but
yeah,
a lot of people, especially the female fans, probably don't want to see it. And
well, you never know,
Well, you never know, but I'd imagine if you walk in expecting a Card Captor Sakura or Sailor Moon type game, then it might put you off a little bit.
Well, you'd be surprised if it was a Sailor Moon type game, because don't forget the transformation sequences in the original Sailor Moon.
Yeah, true.
Anyway. So, Blue Reflection, there are things there that are commendable, but there are also things there that aren't so commendable. Leave us a comment below, let us know your thoughts. Subscribe to us, and we'll have more conversations about video games coming your way very soon. Over here, we've got other conversations about video games that we've done, and over here, we've got some interviews we did at EGX this year. If you're a regular viewer, please support us on Patreon, and we'll see you all later. I've been Rob.
And I've been Mark.